Welcome engineers to Race Over Pond. Today's pond is the time trials for China and Japan. Today we're making an episode. We're making a setup for both of them, round 3 and round 4 of the championship. If you do want to see what happened in the previous episode, card in the top right hand corner, because spoilers in 3, 2, 1. We made several mistakes and eventually retired from the race when we were leading at one point before the pit stops. Could we have won the race? I don't know. We did get massively undercut and Max was first while we were 18th. But we were only planning to do a 2-stop and everyone did a 3-stop. So it could have been achievable. But yeah. Anywho, China, Japan. China was a good race for us last season. We almost won, just penalties and fuel. And Japan, we got we got a little bit worse in strategy. So, but if we get quicker, it should be a fine race. As you can see, running the default setup, running the baseline setup, that we made
mainly
in
because I haven't
testing.
had
And we're going and doing the 4 laps, gathering the data, and then coming in for our pit stop, of course. To change the setup. And after the 4 laps, we come in, and I believe we then loaded.
We're not that far off the pace anyway, so
I believe we are going to load the. We're going to change our setup. A little bit extra downforce. Get right back out there. And the second stint, 29.1 to start the first lap. It's not that bad. Could be a little bit better though. On the second lap we were a lot better. We were a lot worse. Did a 46.0. Making a mistake somewhere, so the setup isn't as stable as we'd like. On the third lap we did a 29.0. So consistency with the first lap, which isn't too bad. And on the third lap we made another mistake doing a 38.5. Any comments?
want to try something.
Basically none. Okay, so we're going to reduce the downforce. Rear is a little bit slippery. The rear is probably where we're making mistakes. Increasing all the on-throttle differential. Having a look at the suspension. We changed the roll bar again like we did for the majority of Singapore and Australia. Yes, we do. We bring it down 5 clicks.
I know I'm changing quite a bit.
Let's go see what that does. On the first lap, we made a mistake again, doing a 44.4. So we'll have to wait and see if the setup did actually work or not. Coming across the line for the second lap, did a 29.3. So we are a little bit slower than the laps were actually succeeded last stint. On the third lap, we did another 29. This time with 0.4. So consistency is there. And on the fourth lap, a little bit slower, doing a 29.6, I believe that was.
Bloody working.
But it's not where we want to be, and you can hear me in the background. Obviously saying so. So we're going to copy the setups of the top time trial times, because obviously they know how to make the setup. I don't. So their setup should be good. And yeah, let's actually do some good laps. First lap, immediately we beat the Ghost doing a 28.0, going a full second quicker than similar laps in the previous stints. On the second lap, got a new Ghost. Didn't stop us from doing another 28.2 this time. So the consistency is there. On the third lap, we did a little mistake doing a 30.0, but on the fourth lap we got back to our ways and did a 28.5.
I'll be back. I'm going to plug my laptop in.
So obviously the setup worked a lot better than I was kind of expecting. Obviously I was delusional and thought that my own setups would be good. They obviously are not. So it shouldn't really have been a surprise that the top time times did gain me a second, but it kind of was. So we now need to try and develop off them and make our own setup in a way that we like instead of what they like, because their setups have always got a lot on the front, which is not how I drive the car. It probably should be how I drive the car, because obviously it's how they drive it and they're quick, so I don't do it and I'm slow, so maybe there is something there.
Let's try and find out what makes it so on the nose.
So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to try and make it suit my style of driving, see if we can go even quicker, because I don't want to completely change my way of driving, especially halfway through a game. Maybe into 25, because I'm already into 24. First lap we did is a 28.2, so we're pretty close already. On the second lap, I believe we're even closer, doing a 20... Nope. Stayed the same distance, doing another 28.2. And on the third lap, we made a mistake, did a 40.5, but it's fine. And on the fourth lap, we come across the line, pretty close again, doing another 28.4. So 2 tenths with all the laps that did not make a mistake, which is pretty good. And did I find
it might
what?
have something to do with geometry.
It doesn't.
Suspension.
No, it is definitely the suspension. But changing the geometry did make us a little bit quicker, doing a 28.1 on the first lap. On the second lap, we were close again, doing a 28.0, matching our personal best. And on the third lap, what I was about to say there was, I assume it's so much more comfortable. Doing a 28.1 on the third lap, and on the fourth lap, we did make a mistake, doing a 36.7.
We've got about just over 20 minutes to go.
So that is about 5 or so runs left. How many laps have I done? Have I done 20? 4 runs left. So geometry was obviously not where the pointiness of the car comes from, but it did help changing it to what I wanted. So we did change the suspension a little bit. On the first lap we did 28.8, not exactly where we want to be, but it is helpful to know what does what. On the second lap we were much better, doing 28.3, so we got closer. And on the third lap we made a massive mistake at Spoon, I believe, doing a 2 minutes 3.1. On the fourth lap we were much better, coming in at just a 28.2. So when we have a clean lap, the consistency is kind of there.
Now to find out which one of those didn't work as well as I thought they would.
So yeah, I changed quite a bit. So we're going to change ride height back to what it was and see what happens. Surprisingly, we went quicker, doing a 28.006 basically. And on the second lap we made a mistake right at the end of the lap, doing a 57.5. I believe I did restart the lap, yes, so that it didn't hinder this lap, which was a good idea because we come across the line to do a 28.0 as well. And then on the fourth lap, we made another mistake, not quite what you want to do, and come across the line to do a terrible lap time, which you don't need to see. But it kind of worked. So we're going to change the roll bar, increase them, see what happens. And we come across the line for the first lap to do a 29.3, so probably made a mistake somewhere around that lap, or the setup is not where we expected it to be. On the second lap we come across the line to do a 28.6, sorry. So yeah, setup is probably not where we want it to be. And on the third lap,
The worst start to the season I've had.
we made another mistake doing a 39.5. And on the fourth lap, we come across the line to do a 28.2, best of the stint. What you may have heard me say on lap 35 was this is the worst start we've had to a season yet. Yes, it is. We have never, ever gone the first two races without scoring any points. And what makes it even worse is that Max won both of the first races, so we are 50 points behind. Even last season's, after two races, we were only 18 points behind because Max had a terrible Singapore, and we actually scored points at Singapore. So, that's what I'm hoping to do at Japan, to try and win, to give myself an actual good start to the season. It would be better because we would have got our first win in 3 races instead of 6, which would be within 8, sorry, which would be much better by 5 races. But obviously then it depends on the gap to Max, not necessarily how many wins we get and how many points we get by a certain race, because Max could have a terrible season and our season would be better, because like you can win 5 races in 2 different seasons, but one season be better than the other, because in one season your championship rival was terrible in those first 5 races, but your championship rival was brilliant in the 5 races in a different season. So anyway, we moved to China after saving the setup at Japan. It's a pretty good setup, I think it will do me alright. And in China the first 4 laps were based on a base setup. I believe it's the setup that just the game gives you. Well, I don't know why it's gone deaf here. I don't know what happened. Well, the stream did glitch quite a bit. This is Twitch's fault. I don't know what's going on. And also, I did accidentally forget to pit quite a bit at the end of the lap. Quite often, I'd complete sector 1 without realising, oh wait, I need to pit. So that's what I did at the end of sector 1. Came in, changed the setup. Yeah. I'm really sorry. I should just remove that. For the second stint, we are going to run the time trial times. Obviously, much earlier than
that is not
I did
his
in
setup.
Japan, which is much better. What I had noticed, which you probably are about to notice as well, or already have, is that the top time trial times, quite a lot of them have the same setup, which I thought was weird, you know, because everyone has different driving styles, so surely someone would have a little bit more rear wing and someone would have a little bit less front wing, etc. But no, like quite often the top 5 time trial times from the same platform will have the same setup, which is kind of useful to know that the setup is good, because the top 5 times are using it, and they're the top 5 times. But it is a little bit annoying if you're trying to get a little bit of variety, like that setup doesn't work for you, but you know, there's no other setups to use. To begin the second stint, we didn't go green on the first lap like we did in Japan when we ran the time trial times, and we didn't even go green on the second lap, doing a 33.0. On the third lap, again, we didn't go green. This time that's because of a mistake. I don't know where I made it. Probably at the final, the loop, doing a 44.3. On the final lap though, we almost went green, but we did go quicker, doing a 32.7. So the setup does work. Not as well as I thought it would. But it works enough to get a little baseline where we can improve and hopefully beat the time trial personal best. And again, this is me forgetting.
I don't know what to do. The rear is not the rear is stable, but I don't know.
Yeah. At this point, I was getting pretty frustrated. Obviously, I don't know how to make setups, but I know setups are important to go quick, so I was trying to make one. And obviously, that would have been alright if I was going quick in. I'd be alright if I was going quick. If I was doing alright in the season, which I'm not. So the disappointment. Sorry about that. I got interrupted by a phone call. Yeah, if I was doing alright in the season, the disappointment and annoyment would be less. So it's easier to get annoyed when you're not doing well. Anywho, in the stint, finished with a 32.7. Finally remembered to come into the pit straight away this time, and change the setup. Straight to the suspension, and we load. We go into the default setup.
Only change the setup if it needs drastically adjusting.
So we're going to compare it to the default setup that the game gives you, and then we'll see if we can go from there. Coming across the line for the first lap in that stint, we do a 33.1. Not as good as the setup that we just had, obviously, but it's a good baseline. Quicker than the baseline that we were using earlier. 32.8
would be fine.
32.8 in the second lap. Third lap we get a little bit hooked on the curb and do a 32.9, going a little bit slower. And then on the fourth lap we complete the stint with a poor 35.5. So what do we do to the setup? Well, I don't actually know. We change the geometry to the right extreme for the toe and left extreme for the other way around. Right extreme for the camber, left extreme for the toe. Didn't quite work because the first lap did a 33.3, a couple of tenths off. On the second lap we were a little bit closer, a lot closer actually, and did a 32.7. So we probably did a mistake on that first lap. On the third lap we made a mistake and did a 47.6. So the setup's a little bit inconsistent, not able to control the car as well. On the fourth lap we invalidate, but do another 33.3. So the car's a little bit difficult to control, so we want to... I'd assume we'd want to increase the stability, so we're going to increase the wings, see what that kind of gives us. We'll see what kind of performance that gives us. And for the first lap we do a 33.2, which is not bad. Not the best, but it'll do fine for now. Second lap we come across the line and do a 32.8, which is much better than recently. For the third lap we come across the line, we go green for the first time and do a 23.6. 32.6. Oh my god, I can't read. For the final lap of the stint though, we do get a bit hooked on the curb and complete the lap with a 33.1.
So that's good in a straight line. Hard to...
Okay, so the setup's good in a straight line apparently, which probably means we can go a little bit more on the downforce, especially the rear, because the rear gives the rear takes away more straight line speed. Transmission we reduced both of them to 50, and front wings the wings we increased both by 5, I think it was. Across for the first lap we do a 32.9, so pretty good to get into the 32s immediately. On the second lap we were pretty close to a ghost as well, again doing another 32.9, so the consistency is very much there. On the third lap we'll come across the line and do a 33.5. It's not quite where we want it to be. So on the fourth lap can we go better, a little bit closer to ghost, and we do a 33.0. So the consistency is pretty good apart from that third lap. So
consistently off the pace.
Yeah, well, okay. Well, when you put it
Would
like
I
that,
change that at time?
you change front wing and rear wing.
Ah, yes.
Okay, so we're putting that back down, which is a bit odd, considering that is the most consistent setup we have had, and we've already run this setup. First lap was a 33.0, doing the exact same lap time as the one we did to finish the stint. Okay. 52.8 for the final lap, for the second lap. Third lap, which was invalidated, was a 33.2. And the fourth lap, invalidated again.
What is this?
And yeah.
It's just so difficult.
Please don't swear again.
How am I meant to make the hairpin when it doesn't even want to?
Okay, so we're having trouble at the hairpin, which is probably something to do with downforce, so we changed the wings again, and we go much better, doing a 32.7 on the first lap, which is surprising. Second lap, a little bit worse, doing a 33.1. Definitely disappointed about that. On the third lap, we come across the line green by 0.2, doing a 32.4. And on the fourth lap of the stint, with the new Ghost, we come across the line, a little bit hooked on the curb again, doing a 32.8. You can't be disappointed about that one. So we go back to the suspension, reduce the rear roll bar, and let's see what that can do. Coming across the line, we're pretty close to the Ghost again, doing a 32.4, which is always nice to see. On the second lap, we come across the line, pretty close to the Ghost again, doing another 32.4. And for the third lap in the stint, pretty close again to the Ghost. Never mind, doing a 35.5. For the fourth lap, can we be with the Ghost again? Yes, we can. And we come across the line doing a 32.6.
Now we've got an even better baseline.
Even better baseline, yes. So
this one a bit.
3 out of 4, pretty consistent. That's not bad. We would like it to be 4 out of 4, so we do change the rear suspension and go again for the final stint of the day. Coming across the line for the first lap, doing a 32.8. In the second lap, we're going to come across the line to do another 32. This time a 32.6. The first time might have been a 32.6 as well. For the third lap, we are pretty close again to the Ghost, so we do a 32.7. Pretty consistent, if you ask me. And for the last lap, even closer to the Ghost, and we do a 32.6.
It's alright.
Okay, well, pick one.
Really
it's alright.
Set up better.
I shouldn't have said that. Oh well. We are going to revert back to the previous setup and save it. And we are done with today. So, I am just going to remove what I said earlier. Save as China GP, and then that will be for today. So, looking at all the laps, we did invalidate quite a few of them. So, the setup wasn't kind of the best, but as the session did go on, we did reduce the amount of invalidated laps. However, right at the end, we did increase the amount of laps that were getting invalidated, apparently, and having quite a few mistakes. Is that the way we want to go? Not quite, but the setup will do, and hopefully we can get a win. If we can, that'll be good, and we'll start clawing in those 50 points that Max has got over us in the drivers, especially if we win both, which we should be able to do with actually good setups this time.
If you want to watch me suffer, Join me tomorrow.
Anyway, I'll leave the outro
And if you like
to
this
my
stuff,
stream
then,
self.
follow both here and on YouTube, both under the same name. Yeah, I've been Racengineer. Hope you enjoy the rest of the day. Goodbye.